Hello and welcome to another episode of Health Talks. I'm today's host, Joshua, and we are joined by the wonderful and lovely Chioma, who is currently a student nurse. Hi, how are you, Chioma?
Hi, I'm all right. Thank you, Joshua.
That's good, that's good. Thank you so much for coming on to Healthy Talks. We really, really appreciate it. And today's episode, we're just going to be talking about you and your journey as a student nurse and what your future plans are as a student nurse or just as a nurse in general. So, Chioma, if I can maybe start by asking, could you share a bit about what initially drew you to pursue nursing, and specifically why you chose to focus on adult nursing?
Uh, I decided to become a nurse because in my earlier years of schooling, I basically liked biology and subjects that anatomy essentially, and that was what drew me to nursing. And um, as as I already had like my elder sister being a nurse, she was essentially my inspiration. I was able to like learn from an earlier age what the roles of the nurse are and what they do, what the career progression in nursing is all about. And yeah, I would say that I had a very good, a broad understanding of what the profession was about. It was not just about the sense of fulfillment that comes from providing care and following patients through like the recovery journey, but also it was more about um my interest in learning more about the human body, how it works, the anatomy, and how like it translates physiologically.
It's quite interesting. Can you maybe tell us sort of what moment you realized you wanted to do this? Was there a specific event, specific, um, story that sort of helped you realize that this was your career path?
I wouldn't say there was a eureka moment, but I knew by the last year of my of high school that this was certainly what I wanted to do. And so I just pursued it. It
Interesting,
was a
interesting.
combination of experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you've expressed an interest in specializing in cardiology and neuroendocrinology. What about these fields captures your interest, and how do you believe that they will shape your approach to patient care?
So I was drawn to neuroendocrinology and cardiology. First, my experience with cardiology was the fact that I always found the heart like I've always been fascinated by the fact that it's by the centrality of its function in the entire human body. Like it controls the peripheral tissues, it provides blood to the central tissues as well. I was just fascinated by it and the role that it plays essentially with the entire human body. And then I wanted to learn about it. And I found out that I understood it more than a number of other body systems. Not that I don't understand other body systems, but I was just particularly fascinated by the way that the heart works, the cardiac cycle, the the electrical the electrical functions of the heart and all of that. And so this is actually quite interesting because my journey with neurology started very early on, like in my training, because I was always reading about the neurologist Benjamin Carson. So that was what sparked my interest in neurology. And I also found like the neurons and, the way that they work and interact with each other and how they play a
Mm.
certain role in the human function. I just found it really fascinating as well. And I knew that, I wanted to go into some kind of like stroke care or something of that sort. And endocrinology was inspired by my current shadowing experience, where I sat in with an endocrinologist and I discovered that the neuroendocrinology branch of medicine, of nursing, as
Mm,
both systems are not function in an isolated way. They're interconnected, essentially, as the brain, initiates the secretion of certain hormones and the way
mm,
that different body systems. And I believe that in nurse, all of these learning experiences are providing me with substantial knowledge in understanding the conditions that my patients present with, and this will help me to serve them better. Yeah.
mm. And you're currently in your third year of studies. How has your, educational journey influenced your perspective on nursing and healthcare? And can you maybe share a particular experience or lesson that has been pivotal throughout your studies?
Okay, I'm gonna refer to like an anecdotal experience from placement, which was a straight placement that I had. Um, it spanned for about 11, 12 weeks, and whilst I was there, I was able to shadow some uh, physios and occupational therapists as well. And when I was with them, I learned about, stroke care from the perspective of PTs and OTs, which is um, integral essentially to the function of a nurse because you it provides you with more knowledge. It shows you sort of like what drives the treatments and the interventions that they provide. So it helps you to better understand your patient. And then I learned about neurodiversity, uh, yeah, and how, neurodiversity and how that basically affects your patient and also the ability of the neurons to heal themselves, which is another term, neuroplasticity. So I never, before that time in my training, I knew that some tissues had the ability to heal themselves, but then the neurons, that was just that was a new experience. It was an interesting experience. I remember reading further about it, and also that added to my knowledge about what I knew about neurology and how, even dementia patients are able to, it's not a fatal condition, as with the right interventions, they're able to relearn certain things and get on with their lives and with the appropriate support. Yeah.
Mm. And you've mentioned to me prior to this conversation that there's a possibility of furthering your education to medicine, so I'd like to sort of understand what drives this ambition and how do you envision integrating this, what we've now been discussing with your nursing background?
I would say that nursing and medicine are not essentially as different from each other. The difference is basically the depth of learning. It's how
Mm,
much information that's because there's more in medicine, there's you consume like a significant amount of information. But the information that's consumed in medicine is also some of those information are consumed by nurses as well in their training. So it's not gonna be a deviation, an absolute deviation from nursing. It's more like gonna be like a seamless transition, like into nursing, sort of like a continuous learning. That's how I see it because I'm very interested in learning more, serving my patients more, and just absorbing, being a sponge and absorbing as much knowledge as I can in these early years of,
mm,
and of course, being able to provide the best evidence-based treatment and care that I can to my patients.
mm, mm. And pursuing a career in healthcare, and it's something that we've experienced on this channel before, where people experience a few challenges, but they also experience a few rewards as well. Can you maybe discuss some of that you anticipate facing and how you plan to navigate them?
So the challenges and the rewards. I would start with the rewards first. Working in healthcare provides you like it gives you a sense of fulfillment because you know that what you're doing essentially matters in the society.
Mm, mm,
And just a sense of fulfillment with your life, being being able to contribute to the recovery process of patients. I think that's a major factor to why I'm doing what I'm doing. And also, of course, there's a lot of career progression within nursing and medicine as well. And the challenges are that both in nursing and the medicine, it requires significant dedication in terms of work-life balance. You have to give a lot of attention to your work,
mm,
and there's a lot of structured routine. You have to show up when you're required to show up, and it's something that in my nursing training I've already been exposed to. So I don't think it's going to be much of a problem, even though I know that it's there's going to be a lot of time commitments in medicine, but in nursing as well, that is a requirement. So I think that I'm on the right track. Yeah.
mm. And tell me, how has your journey through nursing school and the experiences you've encountered sort of shaped your personal growth and vision for the type of nurse you want to be?
I think that every day in nursing, every opportunity is just being like a learning curve. Like every day, you're constantly learning. You're learning, unlearning, and relearning a lot of things because you have to do a lot of trainings and stay up to date with current practice and standards and guidelines. So
Mm,
yeah, essentially, um, it's a learning curve, like, and I'm open to like keep learning and observing as much as I can, in my practice and being the best healthcare practitioner that I can be.
mm. And sort of give me an idea in this sort of, and this is something that we talk about so often in this channel, is that healthcare is continuously evolving. Like there's never a day or a time that it's not changing. And continuous professional development is certainly key. How do you plan to stay informed and skill yourself in your chosen specialities? And are there any specific areas of technologies you're excited to explore further?
So I intend to keep myself up to date with recent practice by continuing education, furthering my education activities, to stay up to date with what's um, with the recent trends like in practice. And besides that as well, just updating my trainings and my certificates in practice. And yeah, uh, trying to keep myself up to date with what the trust guidelines as well, both national
Mhm.
and guidelines. And with regards to what recent technology that I'm interested in learning. So as I'm aspiring to potentially pursue neuroendocrinology, uh, there's some technology that's used in diabetes medicine to track and understand patients better, understand the trends, and being able to interpret that and provide better care for patients and better health education for patients who suffer with diabetes. So
Mm,
Dexcom and Libre is widely used by a lot of endocrinologists, and that is something I would like to explore and understand better. It not only helps to see the trends of basically the lifestyle of your patient, it helps with diagnosis as well because you can um, potentially track trends of like um, uh, Somogi effects and some other conditions that are associated with diabetes.
mm, mm. And how do you see yourself contributing to to the aspect of nursing, and especially in your specialized fields? I know that this is something that you just now touched on, but what further sort of contributing aspects do you plan to make? Is there any specific interest or key focus?
It's just about, continuously learning. Essentially, it's I'm happy that I've been able to identify what areas that I'm interested in, because then I can further work my way up in knowledge, in skills, in techniques that are required in those specific fields that I'm interested in. I mean, I'm open to learning a number of things from other fields of nursing, other fields of medicine, because the body is an interconnected system essentially. You have a knowledge of other systems and how they interact. But also, the fact that you specialize in something doesn't mean that, you don't understand some things about other systems, because it's going to help you practice. So it's just about continuous learning and absorbing as much knowledge as I can. And combining that with best available evidence to be able to provide better care to my patients. And the best available evidence is just uh, uh, touched upon in this interview, per questions about, how I intend to keep up with practice and all of that, trainings, acceptance and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you've mentioned a few times throughout this interview that, the body is an interconnected system, and that usually comes with being connected with other healthcare professionals and collaboration. So can you maybe speak about how you envision working alongside other healthcare professionals to provide the best care in your fields of interest?
Okay. I think that teamwork in healthcare is essentially important because, a lot of errors could occur if there's lack of communication within the team. And what makes the team there's as much as there's scientific knowledge that's required in order to provide the best care for patients, there's a lot of uh, social skills that come into play in making the team work, respect, civility, you know, practicing uh, within uh, within your field and not overstepping your boundaries into doing someone else's role or performing someone else's role. It has a lot to do with how you treat people, how you accommodate people, and yeah, when you're able to do that, then you bring in the scientific knowledge as well. So teamwork is essentially important. I am aware that, whether it be nursing or medicine or whatever field of healthcare, teamwork is always very essential because you're always going to be working in a multi and yeah, no healthcare provider knows it. So you
Yeah.
you you need the opinion of the nurse, of the healthcare assistant, of the PTs and OTs, the speech and language therapists, the physician's associates. Everyone comes together to make the dream work.
Yeah. And, you being a student nurse, and I think this would be very, very crucial coming from you, sort of reflecting on your own experiences and aspirations, what advice would you give individuals considering nursing as a career, particularly those who are interested in the specialities for further education in medicine?
I would just say, learn as much as you can. No, you can't work in healthcare if you're not open to continuous learning. So it's always going to be like a learning curve. You're always going to be learning. There has to be like a progressive trend in what you're learning and how you're learning. So that has to be like a major factor. And just stay true to yourself and know the reason why you're doing what you're doing, because at the end of the day, it's your reason that drives the kind of care that you provide. It's your motivation, your reason, what's on the inside that drives you to provide the best available care or to thrive even on bad days or good days.
Mm. That's inspiring. I love that answer. All right, Chioma, thank you so much for joining Healthy Talks today. I've really, really been able to connect with a lot of what you're saying, especially, further educating yourself. I think that's a universal thing as well, is that constant learning is needed, especially in this evolving world. So yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, looking forward to seeing where you go next.
Thank you. Thank you, Joshua.
No problem. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Healthy Talks. As again, I'm Joshua, your host, and we'll catch you later for another episode. Bye.